listening to FemTalk 89 FM in Suva and Lombaso, or joining us online on SoundCloud or YouTube. I'm Sian Rolls, and today we're at the Fiji Young Women's Forum Gender Responsive Budgeting Workshop, funded by the United Kingdom's Magna Carta Fund for Human Rights and Democracy, and it's the 16th of June. Fiji's next national budget for 2017 to 2018 is due to be released later this month. That's on the 29th of June. And over the last 3 days, that's what 27 diverse young women have been discussing. What is a budget? What is gender responsive budgeting? What are the things that we want to see in the national budget? So we've been unpacking and redefining what we think are important issues as young women. And with me today to share some of their recommendations and hopes for the national budget in this episode, Helyna from Rainbow Pride Fiji. We've got Dawson from DIVA in Levuka. We've also got Vika, also from DIVA. And we have Regina from Youth Champs for Mental Health. We've got a fabulous group of young women, diverse young women. I feel very vanilla right now. And we're going to start off with some recommendations. So what really do you want to see in the national budget? Regina, you come from Youth Champs for Mental Health, and sometimes mental health issues get lumped in with non-communicable diseases, and sometimes it doesn't get a slice of the NCD pie. So what do you want to see in the national budget?
Thank you, Sean. In the national budget, what I would like to see is that specifically, if there is a budget for medical services, specifically it would state the amount and specifically for mental health and suicide prevention.
Right, so what are the kinds of activities and advocacy, but also services that need to be provided for mental health and suicide prevention?
At the alarming rate of suicide in our country, and how it affects mental health. Most of the activities and programs that needs to be
resourced,
and the resources need to be out there, is that more school outreach programs, especially because they are peer educators and they are very well versed with mental health and suicide prevention. If they could go out into the schools and talk about it, the basics of mental health, and more on dissemination of information. When I say dissemination of information, is that we can piggyback right with the mental health and the suicide prevention staffs that go out into the communities, or we can propose or come up with our own projects that we as a youth who are very passionate about mental health and suicide prevention could go out into the community and talk to the communities themselves. Because what we have been seeing in the past few years as we were going into schools and into the communities is that they are really well versed with youths rather than professional service providers.
So engaging on, not necessarily on a one-to-one basis, but communicating in a way that it resonates with young people who appear to be the most at risk, particularly when it comes to suicide prevention. And I believe one of the alarming rates that you were mentioning that has come up in our discussions in the last days, one attempt every 36 hours. And there are numerous reasons for that, whether it's a mental health condition or just a situation that happens to arise. So the more that, you can have advocacy out there so that people know where to engage and how to engage, the better off, the happier in our heads we'll all be.
And yes, Sean, and this is talking to them about having positive coping strategies or coping mechanisms.
Yeah, because you don't want to have to link your dependency or how to feel good with things that are harmful to your body, like alcohol or drugs and otherwise. But how can we encourage people to go and run if they're feeling stressed, or meditate and, just enjoy nature?
Yes, right.
Thank you so much, Regina. And coming around, we're going to stay with the issue of health, but we're going to hear more about sexual reproductive health and rights, or SRHR. Vika, what is your recommendation to the national budget?
Thank you, Sean. Even policy for the medical health, it's not focusing on the reproductive health, but there's none on the sexual rights. So this could be more education or capacity building on sexual reproductive health and rights for service providers, because coming from an LGBTI point of view, we don't really have access to medical services. In other words, I can say is we face discrimination and the stereotypes, the stigma, and the mindset of the service providers, because whenever we went for general checkup or for PEPs or for dental checkup, the way they see us is totally different, because they more mainly focusing on like men and women, not gender specific. So that's one of the barriers for an LGBTI community member to go and have a medical checkup. Like for the other service providers, like mutant police, what can I say is that whenever we go and report a case, is sometimes our case not being taken in consideration, because the way we look and the way we approach them, because of the mindset they have. So what I can say is that if we can have more education for these service providers.
And that's really important. And I guess from the earlier episode as well, there's a need to help people understand the diversity that exists in our country. You know, one aspect is the disability, but the other is sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And the more that you can help people who, you know, identify as straight and heteronormative, that's also sexual orientation and gender identity, the more that they can start to understand as well.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're going to go to an island that I've not yet ever been to. It's Vika, the old capital. So what's the situation in the old capital? What do you feel needs to be included in the budget?
Thank you. Well, my recommendation is directed to the Ministry of Health and Medical Services. This is due to the lack of well-equipped facilities in maternity units in rural hospitals, specifically in Vika. I'm not a mother, but I have friends and sisters and family members that have gone through the experience of pregnant women being brought over to Suva for safe deliveries, because they can't do that most of the times in Levuka, because we don't have the proper facilities, or maybe we don't have experienced midwives or doctors. So this is a challenge for most of the women in Levuka, because they can be delivered in Levuka, but we can't do that because of the lack of facilities, and sometimes it is very costly, expensive coming over to Suva.
And I guess if we were hearing also from Bonita in the earlier episode that for a lot of these rural communities, and Georgiana agreed, it's not an easy thing just to get some money to transport yourself to Suva or to the nearest largest hospital, because the facilities aren't able to provide for your needs. So we can totally understand, and it's really, really great to also see the solidarity between young women, that this is not just my issue, but it's an issue I'm also hearing and I'm concerned about. Thank you. And Helyna, for you, as coming from the Rainbow Pride Fiji, what is your recommendation for the national budget?
Thank you. My recommendation in the national budget would be the services provided specific to the needs of diverse young women, which includes the LGBTIQ community people, so that they don't constantly discriminate us as they receive when receiving access basic SRHR services in the public health care. Because for my experience, I once went for counseling, and I noticed that the facial expression they gave me from the public health, that I went for hormonal therapy treatment, and they were very particular with for my gender, they didn't accept me for taking those therapy.
And particularly if you are looking for or even taking HRT, that's also a very sensitive time emotionally, physically, psychologically. So the more you need medical health professionals to be professional about the medical health services that they're providing. Is that also a thing that you're seeing with other young trans women in your network, that they're also experiencing this?
Yes. We did a survey last week, 2 weeks, and there was also an issue in, especially in grassroots level communities. They also undergo those issues.
And do you feel it's also a sense of awareness that needs to go beyond just the medical health professionals as well? I mean, if you go into a medical health center, you're not just being faced with, you know, the nurses and the doctors, but there are also people around you that might, you know, also make you feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
So also public awareness is critical, and clearly understanding the diversity in our country is an ongoing issue, but also a huge priority that a lot of young women over the past 3 days have been discussing. So thank you, Helyna. And coming back to you, Dawson, in terms of maternity health, what do you feel are some of the shorter term as well as long and medium term recommendations? So, you know, it's going to be a challenge to get anything to Levuka. You know, it waits on the boats and things like that. So in the meantime, what do you think could be done to help alleviate some of this strain on maternity health services? It was something we were talking to Georgia with in the earlier episode. Do you feel that young women of all diversities have access to contraceptives or sexual reproductive health information?
Yeah, I think so. But the national gender policy clearly says that government have committed to ensuring that all women have quality services during pregnancy and labor across Fiji.
So it's a commitment that's there.
But the national budget in the Ministry of Health does not have any specific budget allocated for women's health.
I know that they are thinking about doing some expanding at the Suva Maternity Health Center, Suva CWM Hospital, but clearly the need is elsewhere. It's in places like Langi, like Lautoka, like Levuka. And coming across, but staying with DIVA, I have a question for you, Vika. If you were to send one message to a medical health professional to better understand sexual rights, what would that message be? How would you explain it to them so that they know how to be better sensitized?
The message I'm gonna put across to the medical service staff is that the only way I can put that message is taking one of them to one of the workshops, because from there he or she can get another medical staff to attend the same workshop and have a clear idea on the surgery, the sexual orientation and gender expression. Because some of the medical staff totally have no idea of surgery, because it's just us, the LBTI community that's been attending this workshop. So later on, I think that in other workshops, in other spaces that we go into, we'll find time to invite them. Especially the one that we, when we go to medical services, there are channels that we go through to have a checkup done. Maybe we can start with the one that are on the front line. So from there they can get another one. From there they can get another one. So by for how many months, we can half of the stuff they already know, but the surgery and everything about gender, because they've been dealing with this every day. They've been dealing with just men and women from the start. So the next lot comes in, just men and women. So the next lot comes, just men and women. So it's about time we proceed to that. So the next time we went for job, they'll just do gender specific. That's all.
And as Helyna was saying, some of the biggest problems are in the local communities at the grassroots level. So, for example, there are community health workers that are supposed to also be providing some, the first response for health Do you feel that that's a good place to start in terms of helping upskilling to understand sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression?
Yes, sir. I think that's a very good idea, starting from grassroots level, because that's where everything starts, from family and community. Because just one thing in the national budget, funds allocated for sexual reproductive health and sexual education is 136,564. That's by donors. I don't think is that enough to train the youths and the service providers. I think there's more funds should be allocated for awareness for all these NGOs to go into the community to have this training. And in the village there's the nurse for one village. So from there, she or he can have this youth. From the youth, it's only the youth that's been engaging into the family and in the village. So from there, they can build on the knowledge, have the awareness, and from there too, we're facing many barriers and many discrimination, because once there's been an LGBTI community being identified in the village, there's protocol. It's either you've been disowned by the family or being disowned by the village. So from there, you can have a change of mindset for the family and the villages.
And so maybe even the protocols need to be revisited in line with the gender policy. Chorongani corals are paid by the government, and so they also might need to comply. Thank you so much, Vika. And Regina, before we end this segment, what are some of the trends you're seeing that need to be addressed or that can be taken into account when designing the kinds of programs that the national budget could support? You mentioned a little bit earlier about young people, but what in your own outreach, in your own advocacy are you seeing as one key thing that could be the start of resourcing better mental health?
Thank you, Sian. First of all, the stigma. We all know, and yes, you heard about what, like last week on Saturday, we sat on the streets and had our mouth tapes. And first of all, we need to change the mindset of people, like Vika had mentioned. Change the mindset of people, change how people look at other people, change how people look at those who are living with mental health difficulties, and break the silence and talk, and how you can ask somebody, are you okay? And especially first you start from home. You start from home. You try and change the mindset of your family, and then it comes into the community, and it comes out into the respective communities that we are at, and to places that we go to. We try and change the mindset and talk about it. Talk about these things that will decrease people from having suicidal ideations.
Thank you so much. And over the last 3 days, we've been in this special space. It's a young women's space. It's surprising to see more than 5 young women at a meeting sometimes, and there's 27 of us under 35, in case anyone was wondering what we meant by young women. And it's also been, from my understanding, a very educational space, a very liberating space. What's one thing you have learned here over the last 3 days about gender-responsive budgeting, or about anything you've heard that you feel you need to share with your network, with Youth Champs for Mental Health?
Yes, Sian, for me personally, this has been a great learning experience. I've learned a lot, and I've really learned and understood a little bit about gender-responsive budget. But still, there needs more time for us to learn more, so we can really get the understanding of how to go about it. The 5 steps of approaches, the 3 approaches that when I get to know this, I can actually take it back into my organization and implement it. Not only implement it, start by organizing a little Talanoa session about what I've learned, and just implementing it in our system.
And it's really interesting what you're saying. It's not just taking it back into your organization, but creating spaces to continue the conversation.
Yes.
And that's an ongoing and reoccurring thing that we're also hearing. For example, Georgiana and Langi, she's excited about taking it back and sharing it with young women leaders in rural Madawata in terms of their own land. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
And for you, Vika, what's one thing that you feel adds to your skills of advocacy, but also what do you really, really want to make sure that you take back to your communities and your networks and the different hubs?
Thank you, Sana. As for me, being part of this forum and these 3 days is being very informative because I get to see that the budget itself is not for only those people up there. It's for all of us, for every citizen of Fiji, every diverse young women, and for us being here and pushing this through, because it all starts with us. So if we don't push this through, our issues and everything, it will remain the same. There will be still gaps, and no one is going to come and do it for us. It's for us to push it forward, because otherwise our 3 days here is just a waste. Because and from this, when I'm going to go back, this little of my communities, I'm going to push it forward for the LGBTI community to have access to all these medical services and whatever issues we're facing. Because, like, I just want to share something, because the issues that we face, like from the LGBTI community, is just going to lead to suicide. It's like it's connected. So it's not like only me, I'm going to do it alone. It's the help of the youth champs and all other allies to help push this thing forward. And what I learned about this 3 days worship is the gender-specific policy. Because everything is just focusing on men and women from the start, from the beginning. So today I learned that we should go into gender. It's about time, like it's about time we change this thing. Instead of men and women, we put gender specific, because it's not separated budget for women. So, like I said again, it's about time we push the thing forward.
Thank you. And coming to you, Dawson, what's something you've learned and you're excited about taking back to Levuka? And how are you going to do that? You know, are you going to bring people together? Are you going to ask them, okay, what do you want in the national button? We're all going to say it together. How are you feeling?
Thank you. These 3 days has been a very great learning experience for me. It has been an eye-opener. I've really learned a lot. There's a lot of things that I've never heard of, and I know some today. Just a thing to take back with me, I think we will need more consultations with young women in Levuka. Maybe we can work with grassroots organizing groups. I think the only active organization in Levuka right now is Red Cross. And maybe we can work with them and other young women, because these grassroots organizing groups are the only ones that have all the stories, all the evidence and the issues that young women are facing today. And that's what I'm going to do back in Levuka.
And that's something we've also been encouraged to do by mentors like Auntie Finanta Bukalzora, who said it's so critical not just to know your issue, but to have some statistics and data and backup, so that it's not just, oh, this is just my issue, but it's well documented and it's, you know, clear to communicate. Thank you. And as we end the show today, Helyna, what do you feel has been important, and how are you going to take it back in through the Rainbow Pride Fiji network?
For me, for the past 3 days, gender responsive budgeting, I haven't heard of that word. But ending this 3-day session, I've learned a lot out of it. It's been a mind-blowing, enhanced my mindset. For me, as a chapter leader in the Eastern Division and all Maritime Islands, what I've learned from this workshop, I'll take it back to my grassroots level communities and give the information that I've learned from here to that we are also involved in this budgeting process, the national budgeting process, looking at the access of health services under the Fiji National Gender Policy that doesn't specifically say that services are provided to diverse young women, which includes all diversities, right? Yeah. So I will take back and I'll explain them that we are also included in this budget processing, national budget processing, that in terms of voting, that you have rights in making your points in issues that you have,
And that participation doesn't just end when the elections end, but it's throughout the whole 4 years. We need to make sure that our voices are being taken into account and that the processes are enabling young women to participate.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's been it for Radio with Pictures this time in the field, of course. It's not really a field. We are in Pacific Harbour. If anything, it's in the sand. And what we've heard over the last 2 episodes has really been about the networking between young women leaders in all their diversities between the 27, understanding not just where each of us comes from, but also the different issues that we all face seem to be some of the same issues, but that there needs to really be a more awareness and appreciation and responding to the diversity that exists not just in this room over the last 3 days, but throughout the country. Thank you so much for joining us on air or online. I'm Sian Rolls, and we'll see you next time.